Hello. Sunday. Soul sessions with my girl, Ingrid Leck. Whoop, whoop. Just waiting. Adding. Hey, Lisa. Hey, lover. I'm just adding you now.
Hi. Hi, gorgeous. Give me 2 secs. My camera's dirty. Hang on.
Go for it.
Dirty camera. Can't have that. There we go. That's better.
How you doing?
I'm good, gorgeous. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Good. Did you have a good weekend?
Had a fabulous weekend. It's gone like that, but it's been amazing. What about you?
Mine's been fucking awesome. Like, I've just had a weekend of connecting with incredible women. It's been fucking epic. And I just
Perfect.
feel great for it.
Just feel full.
Mm-hmm.
Completely full.
Heart is full. Yeah, definitely. It's such a,
Amazing.
and we forget so often that one-to-one connection is so important. Like, makes such a difference, hey?
Yeah, it totally does.
Huge.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, because there's so much online nowadays that we forget about the one-to-one, face-to-face stuff. Yeah.
And people think that they're connecting online, but you're just not. It's just not the
Not,
same, hey?
it's not the same.
Yay.
Totally not the same.
No. Welcome, everybody. Make sure you say good day when you jump on and give us some love hearts so that we know that you're there. We see eyes, but we don't always see people.
No.
Let us know if you're there. Yeah. And also throughout the chat, if you are noticing or feeling anything resonating, we'd love to hear your feedback too. So don't be shy. Shoot some comments our way. So, my girl, we are, after seeing your post the other day, you inspired me to have a chat about sex.
Let's get it. Yeah.
Let's go. I loved that post, by the way.
Oh, thank you, my love. It's been on my heart for a little while, actually, and I just was, just hadn't done it yet, and just was like, you know what? Today's the day.
It's time. It is time.
It's time to talk about sex.
Let's talk about sex, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, you know, the biggest thing for me, I think, in this whole kind of sex thing as a woman was just how much, you know, I was an incredibly sexual being growing up. I think I had my first orgasm when I was like 5, even if not earlier, like the one I remember. And it was really fucking lonely. Like, I felt like there was something wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, and that carried right through, you know, like I just feel like there's a real stigma around women owning their sexuality and being sexual beings. And I think it's shifted a fair bit, but it's still really prevalent. Hey, like,
yeah, for sure.
The whole, oh, you got to be a good girl and not sleep with anyone, or, you know, you can't talk about sex, or let alone masturbation. Like, girls don't masturbate. What are you talking about?
That's disgusting.
I know. Yeah. You're so dirty.
Yeah, totally.
So what's your experience kind of been with it?
Very similar to yours, my sweetheart. I think if not knowing at the time that I was sexual from a young age, but reflecting back, I can totally recognize where I felt something different within myself and didn't know what it was, didn't know how to talk about it, and even coming, like even talking, like even getting away from sex, and even just like our periods, our moon cycle, our menstrual cycle is still, because it's all like that. It's the same. It's our same sacred area. Even that's taboo. And so you feel like if you can't talk about that, then how am I going to talk about sex, and how am I going to ask questions? I remember in year 7, distinctly, like this group of kids, well, we're all 13, talking about head jobs. And the girls were like, I gave one or I got one or something. And I had no fucking idea what a head job was. Like, none. And my head was like, head job. Like, is that what is that? And I'm like, haha, yeah, cool. Like laughing along. No idea. Like
Yeah.
we're given the basic sexual education and safe sex and that sort of thing, but there's no real open conversation for girls to talk about it where they don't feel like it's taboo, where they don't feel like you said, they're dirty. And even though that's not the intention necessarily behind our experience, like our parents don't want us always to feel like, maybe some in religious backgrounds or something, there's a stigma there. But from my experience with my parents, wasn't that I was to make feel dirty having sex. It just wasn't talked about.
No.
And then leading from that, some belief has established there. And then throughout my experience in life with partners, and being quite sexually open and like sexually flamboyant.
I love that word, flamboyant. You sound like a peacock.
Flamboyant. Yes, you imagine like the Mardi Gras, but in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a party in my pants.
Yeah. Like that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
For sure.
And it's obviously, I think my sexual expression has evolved and grown since then, like since I began, but always been sexually flamboyant, and have had partners make me feel like, because you're like that must mean, like I was saying in my post the other day, that must mean you've slept with so many other people, or you don't know how to do that unless you've slept with so many guys, or all these and it reinforces that taboo energy around it from when we're younger.
Yeah.
And starts to make us feel like it's wrong. For a long time I was like, well, I'm just like, I'm not going to have sex because I'm made feel bad for it. Like I can't, you can't be like sexually expressive and, but then the other side of the coin is if you're a starfish, then you're going to get ridiculed for that too.
Exactly. So, you don't know what you're doing. She was a fucking dead lay, a dead shag, or whatever it is they call you. And you're like, well, what do you want? You want the freaking princess with the chastity belt, but you want someone who knows how to fuck like a fucking pimp. Like, what do you want?
Yes. And it's for me, when it's that whole image of, if you're sexually experienced and sexually expressive, you have an image of what that person looks like. Like, it's not like the whole lady on the street and the freak in the bed. You can't be both or crossing over. You have to, like, essentially the prostitute type look. You're like, well, they know what they're doing because they look like that. It's that stigma around, I guess, stereotypical image of what someone who's sexual should look like.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, I've had interesting experiences with sexual energy and sexual, even my general energy has been misconstrued in the past. Especially being, hello beautiful women, especially being as a personal trainer, when I had male clients, I can think of two in particular, where I had wives calling me telling me I was a homewrecker and to stay away from their husband. And
what were you?
When I was a personal trainer.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah.
Because
I thought you were an escort or something. I was like, when did that happen?
And it was interesting because I know I'm just being me and that's who I am. But my mum actually made a comment and said, "You're very sexually flirtatious." And like, I don't get that. Like, I don't feel like I'm like, it's not like those, make those jokes with, it's interesting how you are received by other people just
compared
by being
to
yourself.
The way a male would be received. And that's where I think hey Zulu, how you doing? Sluts and right, yeah. Nice. Hey everyone jumping on, make sure you give us some love hearts and say hello so we know who's watching, because the eyes just kind of go up and down. It's like crazy. Yeah, and I think, that's the real, like, for me personally, because I was such a sexual being and I was really curious about sex, I was the same. Like, mum and dad did not talk to us about anything. I remember finding dad's video, The Art of Making Love or something, in his drawer, and I used to watch that when they were out, the video in the cassette player and the video player, and watch that when he was out, and then get this feeling and want to do something about it, and would do something about it, but then would feel like, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. I'm quite dirty. I'm disgusting. Like, what? And I feel like that whole kind of, and I know that they didn't actually know how to talk to me about that stuff or express it, but I remember times when dad would be downstairs, mum, we'd all be in bed, and dad would be downstairs watching TV, and I'd sneak downstairs and be like, because I couldn't sleep or something, and be watching from around the corner, and he would, like, a sex scene would come on TV or something, and he would see me, and he'd be like, get out of here, this isn't for you to see. And I'm just like, sex is bad, sex is bad. So then for me, as a teenage girl or a young girl who's exploring her sexuality, to then feel like, oh God, okay, then I need to, like, really, really hide this. Like, I really can't be let them know that I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing and what I'm feeling. It was really like, I just felt like a massive part of me shut down. And it was like, it was just, a massive, massive block, and couldn't express myself. And I felt embarrassed, and I felt humiliated for having sexual feelings.
Yeah, I can totally resonate with that. And from that, I can also, I'll piggyback on that and add to that, because I relate to that. Like, my mum was the same, and my dad, like, it was so taboo to walk in on even a kissing scene, like, let alone an, like, actual sex scene on a movie or something. Like you get the hand over your eyes or something, you're like, what I miss? What happened just then? It's a sex scene.
Yeah.
I get that. You can't watch. And for a long time, up until the age of probably 21, I thought I was having orgasms and totally wasn't. Like, 100% wasn't, because I had no idea, like, absolutely no idea, until my first orgasm was
when you were having sex.
Like, yeah, I was like, this must be it, because that's not explained either.
No.
And I didn't feel like I could talk about it, and because it had been shut down for so long, like that example you gave, like, don't look at sex as dirty, don't look at it, don't talk about it, then how am I going to talk about that with, like, I think, and reflecting back now, I think there was a part of me energetically that probably shut down. It was like you said, you can't, I don't really know what to experience, I'm just going to go through the motions because that's how I think it is. And I think that's how it's supposed to go. Like, I think that was an orgasm until I had my very first orgasm with myself and was like, oh my God, this is an orgasm? Holy fucking shit.
Well, so you were like in your 20s when you first started.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I was so young, and I didn't know what I was doing. I just know it felt really good. And it was really confusing because it was like I was doing this thing that was like, oh, that feels really good, if I was rubbing up against something or whatever it was. You're young, you don't know what you're doing. But then had no way to communicate with anyone about that. And it was, it was pretty fucked.
And why, and like, orgasms are such a beautiful connection to ourselves and to our higher selves, and of course to our partners and, you know, whoever that other person we're sharing that with. It's just not talked about. It's just not, it's not spoken about.
Do you think it's still the case, or do you think that was just that age? Because I know, like, my mum, like, I used to hear mum and dad having sex, and it was horrific. Like, she would just lie there like a dead fish, and he would just, it would be horrible. And you just hear, like, coming from the bedroom. I hope she's not watching.
Well,
sorry, Mum. And my sister actually wrote them a note one time saying, can you please just shut the door when you're having sex? It's like, just shut it down. It's good. And I just totally lost my train of thought. What was I talking about?
You were saying, is it talked about now? Oh, it wasn't talked about then.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's actually changed.
I think it's slightly shifting. Um, I feel like in my experience with the women in my space that there's still that judgment element that comes in
towards other women.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I've got one beautiful goddess in my vortex at the moment, and she's actually a erotic dancer and loves it and is great at it and does it for charity and does it for all these amazing other like outlets. But 100% receives judgment. And because like it's a really there's that element of sexualization for marketing that I don't agree with, especially with like body image and like that side of thing. And then there's the like it's a very fine line to walk, really, isn't it, when you're trying to differentiate between what am I going to choose as acceptable, what am I going to choose as unacceptable, or am I just going to choose like everybody's on their own path, I get to choose mine, I get to choose who I allow in my space. Any judgment I put on somebody else is obviously a judgment of myself. But I feel like the sexual conversation is opening up, along with I actually did a 7-day vagina challenge last year.
What was that?
It was honoring and acknowledging your vagina, because everybody is like, we're focusing on every other single part of our body, but no one really pays attention to our vagina. It's another taboo area where we don't want to look at it, don't want to touch it, don't want to.
Yeah, I met someone recently who had never seen her vagina.
What?
I was like,
Rach did the channel. Awesome. Yeah. How?
I don't know. Like, have you touched it? Have you not even just put a leg up in front of a mirror and go, oh, what's actually going on down here? Like,
there we go. Yeah. Yeah, but again, it's that stigma, isn't it? It's that block. Yeah. It's that, and it stems back from all our childhood experiences of what we were brought up on to view sex as, to view our vaginas as, to view like whether it's good or bad. Yeah, it's really I feel like it's shifting, but a lot of work still needs to be done where it's not
massively. And I think too, I had a realization the other day of that. We get so caught up in our bubbles and the people that we follow and the people that we kind of gravitate towards who are in our, in our vicinity. And we often forget, well, I do, that, there's actually a lot of other people out there who don't necessarily see the same things you do or know the same people that you do. And I had it with do you know Peter Kelly? Yeah, so I was talking to, and I spoke to a couple of people last week, or in the last couple of weeks, and was like, oh yeah, I'm reading Earth is Hiring by Peter Kelly, and they're like, who's that? And I'm like, you don't know? Like, just really surprised.
No.
And then it was just that kind of realization of, oh fuck, actually, just because I know someone and I'm obsessed with people doesn't mean that others are. And I feel like in my kind of, I can never think of the word, vicinity, we'll go with that. The people that I kind of spend my time with are pretty open, heart-centered, connected people who will, teach their kids about their bodies. And, I talk to my boys and it's their penises. I don't call them doo-doos or doodles or whatever. It's a penis and it's balls and it's daddy's penis and mummy has a vagina. Like, it's all normal stuff.
Yeah.
But I still think there's a truck ton of people out there that are still really scared of this stuff.
100%.
Really afraid to express and talk to their kids about it, and not realizing how damaging that can be, particularly for girls, because I think that, the boys, it's just expected. It's normal for a boy to be sexually active. It's normal for a boy to masturbate and want to chase girls and, be a sexual being. But for girls, it's, like you said, are still a massive, massive stigma. And you're a slut if you have sex. You're not allowed to express yourself sexually. If you dress a certain way, you're a slut. If you dress another certain way, you're a prude. Like, there's all these fucking limitations, and expectations put on women around how we're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to act and how we're actually allowed to
Mm-hmm.
express ourselves sexually.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't do it the way that society says is okay, we get labeled
Mm-hmm.
and judged
Mm-hmm.
massively.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like,
Yeah.
we're needs to make a massive
Mm-hmm.
shift. There needs to be a huge conscious shift with this stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like, how do you get it to those people that are just
Mm.
not seeing what we're seeing, you know?
And it's really, and in my experience too, with copping labels like whore and slut and home wrecker and all these sort of labels um, that I copped, like I have, and not that this means anything, but again, like even me saying this is exactly what we're talking about. For me to say I've never had a one night stand, like even that has a stigma attached. So what if you have one night stands? Like,
Yeah.
why? What does that even mean? But for those labels even being attached, I like it hurts. Like, because you fit, and then but looking back now, I think, but why does that hurt? Like, why
Yeah.
should that? But you feel like you have to justify yourself to these people,
Mm.
because they have this view of you of, you know, you did this or you were that person or whatever, you know. And half the time when labels like slut and whore and all those awful labels are attached, there's stories exasperated as well. It's the fish that they caught that just grew bigger every time the story gets told.
Yeah.
But yeah, it absolutely needs to shift. And I think what it comes down to is we really get to look at ourselves and what's true for us, and choosing consciously how we express ourselves sexually.
Mm.
What is our truth? Like what is our truth for us sexually? Like if you want cleavage out, if you want short skirt, if you like, do that.
Yeah. But I
Knowing
think
that
too,
that's
and it was interesting because I had a conversation with my girlfriend last night. We went out for dinner and we were sitting at a pub and just like watching all the people and just really noticing like the way that the women dress compared to the way that the guys dress. Like the guys just look like shit and wearing like shaggy t-shirts and fucking jeans, and they just look like crap. And these girls are
mm-hmm,
like flaunting around with their boobs out and little skirts on and tiny little outfits and something, you know, they looked amazing. But we were
mm-hmm,
talking about, you know, how there's a real fine line between whether or not the girls that are dressing that way is because they are really insecure and seeking attention, or
mm-hmm,
if they're dressing that way because they're fully stepping into their feminine power
mm-hmm,
and going,
mm-hmm.
this is my body and I'm going to own it.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because I used to dress for attention. I used to 100%
Oh,
dress
same.
because my
100%.
insecurities were
Yeah.
massive. I felt so insecure.
Yep.
And I would dress in tiny little outfits to get guys looking at me because it made me feel good. Whereas now I dress how I want to dress for myself, and that
Mm-hmm.
feeling is an added bonus. And the girl I was with, she
Mm-hmm.
was like, yeah, I went out on a date and I dressed really sexily with really tight clothes and it made me feel fucking powerful and I felt so hot and so good in
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
But there was a little part of me that wanted a bit of attention too. And I'm like, yeah, but that's the difference. You are
Mm-hmm.
actually aware and making a conscious choice to dress that way because it makes you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the added bonus.
Yeah.
So I think there's a real fine line, and it can be quite dangerous with young
Yeah.
girls, especially because they're dressing that way for a reason
Mm-hmm.
that's not really healthy, or
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's and I think that's where the whole sex talk thing and the whole sex education for women kind of comes into play too, is because
Yeah.
women aren't being taught how to love themselves
Mm-hmm.
either, to
Yeah.
fully accept themselves, because when you
Mm-hmm.
can do that and step into that space, that insecurity shit's gone and then you're just showing up
Mm-hmm.
as you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that
Yeah.
was a big one.
Take a
Yeah.
breath, Lee. Take a breath.
I'm really passionate about it.
No, it's totally true, and again, it's that difference between your own truth coming from the inside first, rather than looking for that external validation to feel something
Mm.
inside. Yeah, 100%. And it's on the other end of the scale too, where women hide their bodies and don't have sex because of they don't look a certain way. Like I don't look like
Mm.
the chick with the short skirt and the boobs out, so I'm too afraid to have sex with my man. Like I work with women that haven't had sex with their men in years, because they're afraid.
Yeah.
Because they don't look a certain way, they don't fit into a certain box according to society to be able to be sexual. Like, God forbid a woman with, you know, rolls and cellulite actually is
Enjoys sex.
an absolute fox in the bedroom. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's there's a lot of different layers to it. With women and expressing, but it's coming from, I think it's like you said, it's that distinction between am I because I know I've done stuff in the bedroom that wasn't for me. Like, I've agreed to shit where I know,
Yeah,
like,
me too.
I don't like, nah, like, well, but if I say no, then he may walk away, God forbid, or stop like mid coital and leave the transaction. Like, God forbid I lose the approval of this man.
Yeah.
I think it's really just the powerful questions of asking, is this for me or is this for them? Is this for me or is this for him? Or is this for me or is this for her? Or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Because when we start operating from outside first, that's when it gets it's a slippery slope.
It's messy, yeah. Zuli just asked a question. What is out there currently available for young women and men to talk about this stuff? Great question. I don't know. It's not something I've actually looked into. Good question. I'm going to check that out for sure. And I'll get back to you, Zuli. He also asked another question up here.
Hit us.
How will you guys navigate this stuff with your own children? Just openness about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go, babe.
I'll talk about my boys. I'm 100% open with them. I can see it's interesting now with my 6-year-old when we're watching a movie and like a sex scene will come on or kissing, and he'll be like, like, and giggling and look at me, and I'll be like, it's fine, darling. Like, it's just kissing. It's beautiful. And there's actually there's a really, I don't know if I've got it here. Oh yeah, here it is. Perfect.
So he just naturally gets embarrassed.
Yes. Yes.
Interesting. Hey.
Yeah, interesting. And I think there's something behind that from probably catching me and his father at the time together having sex. So that was probably like and so I'm just taking the like the taboo. I thought, that's sex, honey. Like, yep. And he says, I'm like, I'll ask him, what do you think sex is? And he said, oh, well, you get naked and there's boobies and
there's boobies. Like, there's always boobies.
He's a boob baby. And there's and he said, and like the man's willy goes into a JJ, and I'm like, yep, that's sex, honey. But we're reading this amazing book at the moment called The Amazing True Story of How Babies Are Made.
Cool.
This is a kid's book, and it goes right into sex, into fertilization, into like everything.
Awesome.
And there's nothing. It's so good, and it's really taking that. I can see how his view now of movies is changing. Like, he's not so embarrassed. Like, he'll just watch it. Like, it's just part of the norm now.
Awesome.
And obviously, you know, lacing the respect for women and women are queens and all of that in it as well.
Yeah.
But just the author, Zulu, is Fiona Katsukus. Can you see that there? It's backwards. That's it there. It's a really cool book. Just go from like came up.
Cool.
And my 12-year-old is again that natural embarrassment, like as soon as we used to be when we used to talk about sex, but now it's more of a curiosity. Like, so the sperm does what, and the egg does like that sort of like the baby making sex talk, and now we're starting to touch on masturbation.
So has he found himself yet? Like, my boys touch themselves already. They're already grabbing at it. I'm just like,
well, boys do that anyway.
Yeah.
As far as going beyond the just sort of playing with it, like just in passing, I don't know. To be honest, I don't think
he hasn't said anything to you.
No.
Well, that's the thing. Like, how would you? Sorry.
We've got a pretty open relationship. So if he was to come to me and I'll say, look, darling, that's perfectly normal. It's part of exploring yourself and understanding how your body works, and just clean up your tissues when you're done, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Just don't leave me a sock anywhere.
And use like chemical free natural moisturizer. Just,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
look after him, please.
Yeah.
How about you, my darling? What about with your kids?
Oh, look, it's something that's constantly on my mind, and especially because, well, they're boys, so I know that they're highly sexual, and even with the girls, but because I guess like I really want them to know that it's okay, and that's my biggest thing, is them knowing that them exploring their bodies is completely okay and it's completely normal. Because I had it put on me so much that it wasn't normal, that I really want to do the opposite in that. As far as the whole, like I want it to be a really open conversation. So whenever they actually talk to me or bring it up, they're going to get the truth. I'm not going to bullshit them about anything. Like, and I think that whole, oh, babies come from your tummy because a stork put it in there and then they pops out your belly button. What the fuck is that shit?
That's kind of like, that's psycho, that's therapy right there.
Exactly. Like that shit's going to fuck you up, right?
And then Mum said I came out a belly button.
It doesn't. So yeah, my idea and my intention is to just really keep it honest, just and not use that silly wording, or call it a penis, call it a vagina, the normal anatomy, and help them if they want to look at it. I'll be like, yes, come and have a look, and teach them this is a vagina, this is what it is, this is where you want to and this is your penis, and this is what it does. And because I would imagine too, like in Zulu, you might be able to help me on this one, the first time you ever masturbate and something comes out of your penis, like that must be really fucking scary. Yeah. Like,
it's
I couldn't
imagine. Where did that come from?
Yeah. Am I dying? Am I dying?
I need to call Mum.
Mom, I just did this thing and this thing came out.
Yeah.
So
and we use both languages. Like, we use formal and we make it fun. So it's not so penis inserted in vagina horizontally, moving up and down, rubbing, making friction, causing lubrication in vaginal cavity. Like, it's like we make it fun as well.
Yeah, true. Actually, yeah, I like that. Need to keep it fun. Yeah,
because otherwise, for me, I don't want my boys to be I don't want it to be too clinical to the point where it's a lesson. Like, I'm teaching you about sex.
Yeah.
Let's just
keep
make
it light.
Like, like, oh look, your Willy's excited today. Interesting.
Yeah.
Like, just that sort of that fun energy around it, so it doesn't feel taboo. Like,
so serious. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I like that.
Like you said, and I feel like if I had girls, it would be still fun, but it's just it's a different conversation. It's got a lot more attached to it. And
that's where it gets really frustrating too, because I don't believe it should.
No, exactly right. It should.
I don't believe it should have that much more attached to it, and it's hard because you want to change that. So no, that's all there is. Just change it.
Yeah, full stop. We're done. Yeah. Thanks for coming. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, totally. And it's, even I've done, I'm stemming into more work in high schools with teenage girls, coming into probably end of this year, beginning of next year. But I have done one workshop. I was invited to a workshop in New South Wales with some teen girls, and when I asked them to describe what does being a girl mean, and they all did, pretty, pink, this, and someone yelled out having a vagina, and they were hushed, like they were like the teacher's like, no, you can't say that. It's like, like they're like, well, and I was like, well, we all have one, so let's write that up. And it really comes back to, again, it's knowing yourself, and it's body acceptance and self-love, and really knowing who you are, and being able to also, for me, sex also for women, creating boundaries, like being really clear on your sexual boundaries. when you know who you are and what space you're operating from, and having those sexual boundaries for yourself, and
Definitely.
when you're having sex. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a massive thing for me because my level of insecurity was so low, like my level of security was so low
Yeah.
that I was like, I just said yes when I wanted to say no.
Yeah.
I remember like when I was 13 or something, so I was considered one of the hot girls at school. And there was a seventh former who I went to a dance party. He got me out the back and he got me topless. And here I am with this guy thinking that we're experiencing something just between him and I. Next day I get to school and he's told everyone. And he's the legend. And I'm the slutty girl that got
You're
her
the
tits
slut.
out behind the. Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it just.
Yeah.
And when those like things happen to you, they just eat away even more at that. And then I just fell into, okay, well, I need to just please. I need to just say yes when I don't want to be saying yes. And I just
Yeah.
remember having sex with guys just thinking, why am I doing this? I don't want to be doing this. And it's carried right through my entire life, even in relationships, having sex with my partner when I didn't want to. And it's really not okay. Really not okay. So I think
Yeah.
that whole, and I believe that key, like you said, is really getting girls to connect with who they are, their values, what, and putting their boundaries in place and knowing that it's really okay to have those boundaries
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
can say no, and that there are billions of other men out there who are going to fucking respect that even if one douchebag doesn't. Because it seems to be that one douchebag that fucks their girls' heads up.
Yeah. And no can come before, during, like
Yep.
that no can come at any stage. And I said this in a live that I did the other night about why I chose to stay with a cheater, and and talking about low self-esteem and low self-confidence. And he actually, like, my intuition was like, no, like, this is going against everything that you are. But I said yes because he rang me and said, um, can I come over? Like, this is when we first started, like, just casual sexual interactions. Can I come over? And I was like, no, no, you can't. Not tonight. Like, I can't remember the reasoning, but I definitely did not want him to come over. And he wrote back and said, well, that's okay. I'll find somebody else. And I freaked out. I was like, no, you can't. Like, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, no, you don't need to do that. Like, that's fine. Come over.
Oh,
And,
manipulation. What an asshole.
and I look back on that now and just go, what the fuck? Who was that person? But,
Yeah.
like, completely broke one of my boundaries. I knew it. I hadn't said it intentionally and consciously, but my gut knew that my boundary was there. And because I didn't have that self-love, self-worth, self-value embedded and embodied, then God forbid that this person would go somewhere else. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
um,
See
yeah,
ya.
yeah, because I didn't know myself. I didn't know who I was sexually. I didn't know who I was in any way, shape, or form. So I was just operating, again, from external validation.
And it's a huge problem. It's so prevalent. And it was even like, and like moving into the whole slut shaming thing and talking about how, women are actually some of the worst for slut shaming other women. And I was talking to
Yeah,
Gary the other night about how, guys just don't seem to do that to each other. And he was like, yeah, no,
no,
guys actually want to see their mates getting on
yeah,
and scoring and hooking
yeah,
up, whereas
yeah,
girls are like, competition. She's my
yes. Like,
competition.
imagine, yeah. So imagine us all, like, in a bunch going, girlfriend, just go get laid this weekend.
Yeah.
Like, just go and get yourself some. Like, you just
Yeah.
need to get yourself laid. Like, that's not a general conversation that women have. Whereas guys are like, dude, you need to go and get laid. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, you're right.
exactly.
I do. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. And he was like, and because Gary was like, oh, if you heard about a man taking his son, his, old enough son to a prostitute to learn shit, would you be surprised? And I'm like, not really. And he's like, but if you've kind of heard about a woman doing it with her son, would that surprise you? And I was like, yeah, probably. And he's like, that's the thing. Like, you women are fucking, the guys want the other guys to learn and grow and be able to get it on real well. Whereas the women judge, want to keep you small and not not help you to kind of do that stuff. And it's like, it's so true. What he said was just so true. It's like, yeah, women really are our own worst enemies. And I believe that comes from, well, of course it is. It's the insecurities that 90% of the female population carry.
Yes, and society feeds off that, and media feeds off that, and we also take that on board as our truth as well, because it's already it's affirming what we already believe, and it's also I feel like also it's the societal timeline too, gorgeous. I feel it's attached, like, you know, find that you marry your childhood sweetheart, or don't have sex until after marriage, only have sex with that one person. Like, it's that, even though that doesn't ring true for me in a strong religious way, I'm not religious, or any other way, but I can see how that story or that programming is running somewhere in the back of my head, like somewhere, even though I didn't do that, and I don't believe that consciously, it's still there. So it still exists, I feel, generally, where that's also part of it, also part of the influence, and also part of the reason why we feel sex is taboo, because it should be between husband and wife, or it should be between and, you know, those paradigms are being broken left, right, and center now, which is amazing. But it's still the underlying message that still comes through.
Keep your legs shut.
White picket fence and 2.3 kids and 9 to 5 and all that stuff. Like,
and you're winning at life.
What was that, sweetie?
And you're winning at life.
Yeah.
Tickle these boxes and you'll be happy. Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. There's so many layers to it. But yeah, it's just, I feel like my belief is it's really just getting back to knowing who we are. And whether that's an erotic dancer, whether that's a librarian, whether it's like all those labels that aren't who we are, whether that's any of those roles that you play, it doesn't matter, as long as you know who you are and you're operating from that space.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how do we shift that? Like, and you said you're starting to work with young girls and stuff in high school, but there's still so much, like, and I think it really starts in those early years, those 0 to 7 years, where those beliefs and everything is formed. But obviously, you can start creating that. But it's really, we've got to be actually getting into the heads of the parents now to be, or then getting into the heads of the kids as quickly as possible to be able to shift that whole mindset. The next generation.
Yeah.
Because we are fucking sexual beings, male, female, regardless of gender. We are here to procreate. That's what we do, and in order to do that, we have to have sex. And
what do you know?
We actually are allowed to fucking enjoy it too, and tell people that we enjoy it. I love sex.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to be ashamed about that.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be interesting just to a little experiment, just to like make a full day where you introduce yourself and then tell somebody you love sex?
Yeah.
Like, hi, how are you today? I love sex. Just so you know. Like, but then that again.
Let's do it.
Again, it's interesting because that post I did about I love sex, how many interesting messages I received / propositions.
Fuck.
After my post. Like, dude, did you miss the whole point of what I just said? Hello? Just because I clearly stated I haven't had sex in over 2.5 years doesn't mean I'm just going to, like,
open my legs for anybody. Oh, seriously, dudes. What are you doing?
It's hilarious, yeah. So, it's still in the world of self-development. Hey, Dell. Hey, Christine, you amazing women. In the world of self-development, we're still in the minority of working on ourselves, but I still feel like it's the general rise of the collective in raising consciousness and awareness of self, and in doing that, then passing that down to our children. So as far as the answer or the formula or the silver bullet. I don't believe that exists.
No.
It's essentially just working on self to discover who we actually are, and it's also, especially because this came up in a beautiful program that I've just completed, a 6-month program. We hold a lot of sexual shame as well, and guilt from past experiences. Like, and beautiful Zulu said something before about how, where was that? Oh no, that was Rach. I remember my mum catching me about 11 years old and told me it was disgusting.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that where we hold shame around it.
She remembers that.
Yeah.
That's that's something that's going to impact your DNA massively.
So
Rachel, have you done anything to release that? Just out of curiosity, if you're still on.
Yes, she has. She's working with me.
Oh, beautiful. Nice.
And then she said, I love sex. And my ego is a dirty, dirty whore. That's a dag. But yeah, it can be, it can come from like child abuse, like sexual abuse, experiences where, like I've been raped in 2 relationships. I've been raped in my relationships. It's holding shame around that and allowing it. Like it's really releasing as well that shame and guilt that we hold around past experiences, and knowing that it's not dirty, it's not disgusting, and it's not our fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's just part of what we experience, and we get to release that.
Yeah, definitely. And that's where that, that whole awareness thing kicks in too. It's like if you're unaware of what you are carrying around, then you're subconsciously just repeating patterns, and nothing's going to change. And it's really stepping into that awareness. And you see it, like I see it in people all the time, and this is where I get a little bit frustrated in the work that we do, is because you want to kind of just shake them and say, I know how to fix you, I know how to help you, but you can't, because if they're not fully stepping into it themselves, then it's going to fall on deaf ears, and it's just, it's really frustrating at times, because you can see what needs to be done. But trying to explain that and help someone who's not really being helped, then yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. I feel you. I feel you, sister. And everybody's on their own journey. It's accepting people as well for where they're at.
Yeah, absolutely. Rachel, I'm working on it, but I still won't touch myself in front of anyone, even with my husband, partner, boyfriend, etc. Yeah. Cool. I still get funny about it sometimes as well. And, that's another thing, actually, how much it's changed for me since having kids. Holy fuckaroni. Like, I was always just, I would do it in front of Gary anytime. I'd seen him videos and, do anything, like just fully all out there. And since having kids, massive block. So I did recently a spiral and got to, I can't remember what chakra it was. Maybe it was heart. But it was around sexuality, stuff came up, and one of my things was to masturbate, because I had put this wall up and was like, I had this kind of shift in my belief around being a sexual being now, because I was a mother. It was really interesting. And then I made myself go upstairs and I danced, really like stripped down to my knickers and just videoed myself dancing and just connected and that kind of stuff. But even my sexual, like, with what I will do in front of Gary now, I feel embarrassed or funny about doing. It's really weird how it's shifted. And so that's something I'm working on at the moment. And that's why your post came up and I was just like, yes, I fucking do love sex. It was really awesome to see that and connect with that again.
Good.
But yeah, it's amazing.
You can't be a mother and be sexual.
Yeah, but where the fuck does that even come from?
Yeah.
Like, where have I learned that belief? No idea. Because I don't know that.
I've got like images. No, sorry, Spade. I've got images flashing through my head of how mothers look like in media, and it's not sexual.
Not sexy at all, is it?
It's cooking or cleaning or working or feeding or babying or something along that. It's not sexual at all.
That's so true.
And with when I did the vagina challenge, it's that fear that because our vaginas and all our other parts change after having kids, we're afraid that they don't look like tight and like essentially photoshopped like a porn star anymore. So then that's going to be like
An
unattractive.
off-put.
So,
Yeah, see, I had C-section, so I don't, like, nothing has actually visually changed down there. And, you know, I just saw Rachel's comment about her husband not wanting to touch her or whatever. Like, Gary's still very much keen. It's very much something in me that has shut down.
Yep, because of the mum label. Yeah. Yeah. And it's when you think about it and talk about consciously, you just think it's such bullshit. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why am I doing that? Or why am I
Yeah.
thinking that? It's bullshit. But come to the moment and like it's a safety survival block that kicks in to try and keep you safe. Yeah. Yeah.
It's really interesting.
It is really
I'm enjoying the journey and kind of just playing with it and seeing.
Pardon the pun.
Yeah.
Just playing with it.
Yeah, but I just really found it, and it didn't really come up like into my awareness until I did that spiral and was like, because she was like, okay, well, you're gonna go and touch yourself.
Yeah.
And because she said she wanted me to touch myself, but in a non-sexual way, and I was like, oh, thank God, I thought you meant masturbate. I was like, nah. And she was like, that's your homework. I'm like, fuck. Like, I was just like, I wanted to throw up. It was really intense. And I was just like, oh my God, no, I can't do that. Like,
Fear. Yeah. It's crazy, isn't
interesting.
it?
All just because I've had kids.
Yeah.
Did you experience anything like that when you had them?
I did, but my situation was because I was in a domestic violent relationship. So it was a different energy than it wasn't a supportive, loving relationship with either of my kids. So it wasn't a matter of it was a different experience.
Yep.
So yes and no.
Yep.
For different reasons, for sure. Yeah. More of a definite safety mechanism for me.
Yeah.
Shutting down. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Such a juicy topic.
I know, so much to it. We could talk about it all night, couldn't we? So much to it, so many layers. And it's, it all just
and then bringing boys into the mix too.
Yeah.
Because I think it's not just something that, like, boys also have this whole stigma of you have to be a stud, you have to be a, like, I think there's a real, like, oh, you haven't slept with anyone yet? Why not? What's wrong with you? Are you gay?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it really works both ways.
40-year-old virgin. Come on. Can't be doing that.
Yeah. They make movies about you.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
It's just fucked.
Yeah.
That's a conversation for another time. I'm just being wary of the time. Cool, my love. So is there anything else you want to add? Just on the whole, owning sexuality as a woman, really acknowledging ourselves as sexual beings and just fully stepping into that, or any tips on how to really start connecting with that?
I think we've pretty much covered it all, and I just want to reiterate and cover again, and just it all comes back to self. So that distinction between, again, looking outside of ourselves, validation, or something external wanting us to protect ourselves, bring it back to self and really understand who you are, how you feel about yourself, and really amplifying your self-love and self-awareness. So you get to choose differently for your own space and your own body and your own boundaries and your own beliefs, and then that ripple effects over onto your kids. As well, if you've got kids, and when you have them, then so be it. But yeah, just really bring it back to self, and not looking for something outside of yourself to fix it, or to, and knowing that anything that has occurred isn't wrong, isn't bad. Like, not making it mean anything about ourselves as women, just learning from it, and choosing powerfully for our own amazing energy moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I can totally like the whole, I remember when I was cheated on. So I got cheated on by my first boyfriend. And then my relationships after that, I was obviously incredibly insecure and terrified that was going to happen again. So I just kept kind of fucking up relationships. And then I fell into, right, I'm just going to sleep with as many people as I can. And it was all looking for external validation. And some of the people that I had sex with were really not okay. And I really had to work on healing that stuff and forgiving myself for doing that stuff, for treating myself in that way before I could actually really move into like that, my feminine power and my true energy, and being okay with who I was, and knowing my values and beliefs and all that kind of stuff. So that whole kind of forgiving self and letting go of stuff that has happened in the past that you maybe feel like you're embarrassed about, or you feel like makes you feel unworthy or whatever, is really definitely key to shift.
Yes. Yep. Forgiveness is key to shift that energy. Absolutely. Yep. Agree 100%, Gorgeous. That's perfect.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yep. Amazing.
Thank you so much for such a great conversation. Like you said, I could go all day.
I feel like we should just be sitting on a lounge right now, just having like a nice chai
wine or
tea, just chatting for hours. Yeah.
We can do that when you're here.
We
Leave the boys. They can play with the boys, and we can just sit and drink chai. And I'll drink wine. You can drink chai. Yeah, awesome.
Sounds amazing.
All right, my love. Have a beautiful rest of your Sunday night.
Thank you, my darling. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Love you lots.
Love you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.